All right, pledge of allegiance.
Stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the meeting agenda. Do we have a motion? So moved.
Second.
We have moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
And this one? We do have a public comment card from David Adams. David?
May I step forward with the handout?
Excuse me?
Can I step forward with
Sure.
Okay. In case you don't know me, my name is, can you hear this?
Yeah.
In case you don't know me, my name is David Adams, professor of business here at Antelope Valley College. I just passed out, I believe, board policy 4010 that has to do with the academic calendars. Just wanted to have a copy of that in front of you. The reason why I'm speaking tonight is I'm very concerned about a recent email sent by Mr. Bryant on June 6th. In that email, Mr. Bryant encouraged Dr. Scott Lee, the president of the AVC over here, to sign a memorandum of understanding pertaining to proposed calendar change. Specifically, Mr. Bryant stated, and I quote, "Board policy, administrative regulations, and faculty contractual language has been followed. As a result, the parties should move forward with signing the MOU based on policy, regulation, and contractual language." Mr. Bryant is in effect telling us not to listen to our constituents and to just sign the MOU. Board policy 4010 states as follows, and you have this in front of you, quote, "Before presentation to the board for approval, any major calendar changes that may have financial impact to the district or may affect student access and/or student learning must be fully explored, discussed campus-wide, and presented in writing to the superintendent/president. After said presentation to the superintendent-president and after reaching agreement with the Antelope Valley College Federation of Teachers, which is the AVCFT, and the Antelope Valley College Federation of Classified Employees, the AVCFCE, and after consulting with other appropriate groups, the college superintendent-president shall recommend a calendar to you, the Board of Trustees, for its approval. Therefore, in order for you, the board, to consider any proposed calendar change, both unions must agree to the proposed calendar change. This is your policy. Thus, should the president/superintendent, he would be breaking board policy if he were to unilaterally recommend to the board a proposed academic calendar without the agreement of both bargaining units. You have been warned. To refresh your recollection, the other appropriate groups noted in the board policy, who are mainly the students as well as the faculty, have overwhelmingly voiced their displeasure over the president's proposed calendar change. This board has a fiduciary duty to listen to the voices and concerns of all the stakeholders of this institution. Thank you for your time.
Stacy Adams?
Good evening. I'm here to discuss with you your role as the trustees. In my 13 years here at AVC, in my opinion, morale is at an all-time low and discord at an all-time high. Definition: trustee, an individual person or member of a board given control or powers of administration with a legal obligation to administer solely for the purposes specified. A trustee is legally and morally bound to manage in a responsible and productive manner and is under an absolute obligation to act solely for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And who are those beneficiaries that you, our elected Board of Trustees, serve? If I'm not mistaken, it's the current and future students of Antelope Valley College. It is the people of the Antelope Valley. It is the constituent in each of your gerrymandered districts who voted for you. It is the taxpayers that are taxed on their hard-earned money, which provides funding for the California community college system. It is not any one individual. It is not the president of the college, past, present, or future. As a reminder of your roles and duties, I'd like to refresh you on Board Policy 2200. The board is committed to fulfilling its responsibilities to represent the public interest, hire and evaluate the CEO, delegate power and authority to the chief executive to effectively lead the district, advocate and protect the district. When is the last time that this Board of Trustees has voted on something and the vote wasn't 5-0? When is the last time this board has disagreed with the president? When is the last time this board has independently researched a matter and each trustee formed their own opinion? When is the last time that you really sat down and talked to students to understand what they need and want? When is the last time you talked to faculty and constituents to gain an understanding of the challenges this campus faces? If you're not sure of your answer to those questions, then I ask you, who are you serving? When you voted for raises for administration, who were you serving? When you voted to spend millions of dollars on attorneys to negotiate with the unions, rather than having the college's already paid salaried administrators come to the table to negotiate, who were you serving then? Would your constituents be pleased if they were actually paying attention? As a taxpayer, I'm offended. I'm offended by these decisions. Have you asked your constituents what they think? The president decided to move graduation to Friday morning, and it was a relatively cool Friday morning for the Antelope Valley at that. Faculty, students, staff, administrators said this was a bad idea for a variety of reasons. He did not listen to the educated and experienced people around him and acted on his own. It didn't turn out so well. Are we going to do the same with the calendar change decision? Other big decisions facing the college right now? Should we really experiment with something this big when we have no actual evidence? We are told frequently in the president's own speeches that Antelope Valley College has the best faculty in the state. Thank you, I agree. Why then are our voices being disregarded? Do you not trust the educated, experienced people on the front line that are in the classroom day after day with the students? It doesn't seem that you respect us, considering the amount of money you're spending to make sure that we don't get a fair raise. Do you understand what COLA means? Cost of living adjustment? A COLA results in a wage or benefit increase that is designed to help you keep pace with increased living costs that result from inflation. Why do you not believe that this is for the employees? Why do you believe that it's for the college's operating budget instead? Board of Trustees, it is up to you to be the checks and balances of this institution. I believe firmly in democracy, and I surely believe in voting. I hope that you will wake up and do the job that you've been elected to do. I have no doubt that you ran to be on this board because you truly care about the college and the Antelope Valley community as a whole. But I'm worried that you have become complacent. I implore you to awaken your minds and consciences and challenge yourselves to really fulfill the role of trustee. From Board Policy 2715, Code of Ethics. The board maintains high standards of ethical conduct for its members. Members of the board are responsible for acting only in the best interests of the entire community, ensuring public input into board deliberations, adhering to the law and spirit of the open meeting laws and regulations, respecting others, acting with civility, devoting adequate time to board work, being informed about the district educational issues and responsibilities of trusteeship. So I ask you, who do you serve? Please step up and be the trustee that this community needs right now. Please be the trustee that your constituents voted for. Thank you.
Sure. If I if I may, I'd like to clarify a couple of points. Number one, we are not spending millions and millions of dollars to negotiate with faculty. And I kind of have a problem with this whole idea that we're doing this when we're not doing this. Just because some people are making that claim doesn't mean that that's what's going on. Secondly, and I may favor nighttime graduations, and I've been very vocal about that over the last 20 years. We have had numerous graduations during the day at the football field, at the Palmdale Amphitheater. So we have gone back and forth with this, okay? So it's not that we just all of a sudden decided. It looked like, and there were faculty who wanted to do it during the day, because I know I talked to somebody. And they actually liked it. Yes, it was hot, it was intense, and personally, I prefer the nights. But we have done it in the past. It's not all that unusual. Thank you.
Dr. Scott Lee.
Before I start, I ask a question. Is there supposed to be conversation like that during open comments? I'm not aware. I'm just not sure what the rules are on that.
Yes, it's allowed.
It's allowed?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a point of clarification on those items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just wanted to make sure we're following the law. Let me talk a bit about leadership. There's a book I have called Lift by Brian Quinn and Robert E. Quinn. I believe it's one of the textbooks used at Cal State University's business program. They have an interesting section where they say 4 questions of leadership to ask. So the first question is, what results do you want to create? Sometimes with the leadership of this college, I don't really have an answer for that. People will say a decision's been made. Why has that decision been made? I'm not always sure. Well, I'll be honest, that's my politically correct answer. I'm not sure. Sometimes when I'm not being as politically correct, I may come up with another answer. But I'll stick with that. I don't know. Sometimes even when it's clear what the goal is, or the goal has been stated, the development of that goal has been unilateral. There's been no feedback mechanisms, there's been no discussion, there's been no conversation. It was developed at one point on the campus and simply told, this is what we're going to do now. We move that before I forget. Second question, what would be my story if I were living the values I expect of others? That's actually a question sometimes I'm not always quite sure about the leadership of the campus, is what is the values expected of others? It seems to me most of the time it's primarily obedience. Just do what you're told, don't ask too many questions, and stop complaining. But that is not appropriate for an academic institution. An institution of higher education, especially a public one, is founded in democratic principles. So shut up and do what you're told is not leadership in an academic institution. How do others feel about this situation? That's the third question. And that's the question that usually has very little answer, because the decisions are just made. Whether it's graduation, whether it's changing the block schedule, whether it's limiting how much online instruction faculty can teach, whether it's deciding to bypass or sort of get around the program discontinuance process and invent something called hiatus, which doesn't exist in any law or policy. Or here's an oldie but a goodie. Let's cancel classes on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. In every single one of those situations, if there had been more of a feedback mechanism where information came up as well as down, those things could have, at the very least, been implemented better than they were. Even with the calendar, the others, primarily faculty and students, have already pretty much said we don't care for it, but nonetheless it has had no arrest on the situation at this point. So the final question is, what are 3 more strategies I could try in learning how to accomplish my purpose? Well, that's one I don't have answers for right now, but if leadership on the campus put more effort into working with the faculty and making decisions, That's one that wouldn't be hard to accomplish. That's a question that wouldn't be hard to answer. Thank you.
Captain Osborne.
Good evening, I am Kathy Arthur, and I am the Department Chair for Business and Computer Studies. I missed you all last month. I'm sure you're sad I wasn't here. Because I want to thank you for coming to faculty recognition. Next time, come and sit in the back with us, little workers. We would love to have just had a good time with you and not harass you. Sincerely, you could have gone play cornhole with us and just come on back next time. Enjoy it, it's fun.
I've done it 22 straight years of faculty recognition.
I love it. I love it. I would love if more of you came. Come on out. We won't, I'm not throw the beanbags at you. We'll throw them with you. So, tonight we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I hate the bad and the ugly list there. The good, we got our cybersecurity certificate through. Awesome. This is a huge for our students. This was actually a request from local employers. We had them come to us and say, hey, do you know how many of your students we can employ right now if you did this? Start to pay $50,000 a year. That's something else for kids who just have a cert. They don't even have a degree. Then you get into work, they come back, right? Because we want to move up, and then we're creating a degree as well, so they can move forward. This is amazing and awesome. Took an incredible amount of work from Jimmy Bowen and Dr. Ed Fire. I saved classroom labs for them so we could teach it this fall, and we don't have to teach it. We need a full-time instructor. We have the money. We have the money. We have strong workforce money. And I know at this college we're so loath to use it. And I do not like to copy other schools. I'm not like that. But you should benchmark and you should look and you should pay attention. And I go to these conferences and I'm tearing my hair out and they say, I've seen people be like, I'm being paid from it. I'm on being paid for strong. All around me, everyone's being paid for a strong workforce. I understand the concept of you don't want to do that because if the money runs out. But in this case, we know we have millions of dollars. If we hire this person, this fabulous, wonderful person, and you get the program going, you're funded for 3 to 5 years off your grants, right? And then it becomes a self-sustaining program. And that's the whole idea of that money being there. And I had one of the sector navigators looking at me going, do you understand how this works? I think I understand. So we really need to start hiring some full-time instructors with this money while it still exists because you know how this works. The money's there now, but you know how the trends go, and it could be gone within 5 years. And so we really need to move forward with that because we need that cybersecurity instructor. This is a really vital program that can provide jobs for our students. In a long time was the hiring of Dean Negro. He is the director of ITS. Dean is fabulous. Now that doesn't mean we always agree, but we work together so well. The culture change has been, has been 180 degrees. It went from this hideous us against them, I hate dealing with ITS, it made me, my stomach hurt to think about it, to, hey, let's go to lunch. Hey, how can we work together? We're all in this together. It total change. It is amazing, amazing. So fabulous to work with him. And if he would, I was hoping he'd be here because he's not going to like what I'm about to say after that. You guys approved hundreds of thousands of dollars to refurbish our classrooms. I hate to use the phrase computer lab because it's like an antiquated, I still call them algebra. But we need to stop doing that because they're not computer labs. These are our classrooms that have computers in them. A computer lab is an open lab, right, where students come. These are our classrooms. We don't need new desks. Our desks are fine. Why are we spending all this money? We all looked at each other and said, our student desks are perfectly fine. We don't need new desks. I can tell you what we need. We all have wish list of boards, that's fine. Now, we're going to replace all those desks. Okay, why? Because administration said you have to. We're like, well, we don't want to spend the money on that. We don't need that. Let me tell you what we need. And we're very cheap. We are cheap people. We have taught at Allen Valley College for a long time. We do not ask for a Ferrari. The Ford Focus works for us, okay? It's a good little thing, it keeps us going. Because you have to have these new desks with these drop-down monitors. Like, no, that doesn't work for us. We're going to rearrange all your labs. Oh, that's pedagogically unsound. I'm so sorry, let me explain to you why. Please, come up, I will show you. They come up, we show them. Yeah, that's what we're doing. No. This is our curriculum. Computers in other departments, it's something they deliver, they use along with the curriculum. Computers are our curriculum in computer applications, computer information science, and some of our OT classes. So to us, we're now being dictated to on our curriculum. And we said, you know what? We would, of course, we always need faster, better computers. That's life, right? We all do that, even at home, right? It's like 2 years, it's junk. But what we need is a second monitor. Let me explain to you why. I explain it all out, and everyone said, yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, you don't get that. Wait, I just explained it to you. It's going to cost nothing. Monitors are $100 pop. Very, very cheap. Now, you have to do, administration says, you're going to do this. This has gone on, by the way, this fight's been going on for a long time. And finally, one day, one of my coworkers says, give it up. You're killing yourself. You're pounding your head against the wall. You make yourself sick. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do. I'm like, but you guys, this is a nightmare for teaching. What they're doing in these classrooms when you, if you ever want to come up, I'd be happy to show you and explain it to you. It's bad. It gets better. Oh, all that stuff we're going to buy? Oh, we can't do it because we have to rerun electrical and lights. Oh, that's going to cost tens of thousands more dollars. Oh, wait, it gets better. We're losing seats. So you're making my classroom better by completely destroying it, making it pedagogically unsound, buying stuff I don't need, and I'm losing enrollment? Are you kidding me? Nope. Too bad. Why? Because everything has to be standardized across this campus. I said, okay, so you get rid of all the Macs? No, that's part of their curriculum. Right? Makes sense. This is our curriculum. Do not do this. Don't waste hundreds of thousands of dollars. I promise you, we can spend it many, many ways. Gets better. About 2-3 years ago, we realized that we had a computer lab that no longer needed to be used as an open lab. Originally, when we started, we had the only open lab. Students came from all over the campus to our labs. Now, as every building is built, right, we get open labs. The need dropped. We proved it. We pulled all the sign-in sheets. We said, you guys no longer need 317 as an open lab. It's our biggest classroom. Please, we would like it back. Nope. Why not? No. Seriously, why? No answer. They're going to turn it into cubes. You're going to take a classroom that the taxpayers paid for our students to learn in, and you're going to turn it into a cube farm. It gets better. One of those other classrooms that you're redoing, that you're paying all this money for, within 1.5 to 2 years, is also going to be turned into cubes. So you're going to take 2 classrooms for our students and turn into cube farms. And then our students are going out into the parking lot, into portables. And I said to an upper member of administration, not the president, why would you put our students in the parking lot? And he said, well, what makes you so special? Ooh, that's how we get talked to. I mean, I'm not special, my students are. The taxpayers paid for a classroom for my students, not for a cube farm. Cubes can be there. Do I understand the desire for what they're going to do? Of course I do. I get it, I totally get it, okay? But that's a classroom. These are 2 classrooms paid for by our taxpayers. They are not to be turned into office space. Office space can go anywhere. We don't need that. The local high school has come to us. We're building some cool pathways. Did you know that they're teaching computers in kindergarten? I mean, they have a special school for kindergarten. They start learning computers and IT. And they're going to create a pathway all the way because we have trouble keeping people here. We move here and it's the middle of the desert and they kind of like to leave. So the idea is we're going to create homegrown, right? We're going to keep these people in the valley. We need that room. We're supposed to do cybersecurity, Cyber Patriot Club. We don't have room for Cyber Patriots. We don't have room. They want us to create a classroom for the high school students to come after school to do Cyber Patriots. I'm losing classrooms. I don't have any place. 317 is huge. It would be big enough for this. So, to recap, please don't spend this money. And by the way, the construction has stopped. They couldn't do it. They're supposed to do it this summer because they have to do all this extra electrical and lighting work. So we have a chance to fix this before it goes forward. And I would sincerely ask you to review this and think hard about it because we need our classrooms. We need the proper materials for our students. You will never be able to standardize us. We have classrooms that are completely cut off from the servers because we have to teach black hat practices. Does that make sense? We have to do bad stuff too. You can't do good stuff unless you're going to do bad stuff. So we have to have very specialized labs. We have specialized equipment. You can't standardize this and say, well, we're going to teach English in there. It doesn't quite work that way. It's a little different with us. So I just ask that you would review it and think about what I said and maybe consider talking to the faculty before we make these types of huge sweeping changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Aurora Word.
Good evening. Can you hear me? I'm Aurora Bird and I teach geology and earth science here. What I would like to speak to you about tonight is office hours. So I actually, my first experience with office hours was when I was a student myself. When I went to undergrad, I was fortunate enough to go to a very tiny college. And in the freshman intake, whatever they called it, the orientation, they said, you have to go to office hours. You have to go to every single professor's office hours. This is how you are successful. You need to go see them, before there's a problem, so that when you realize you are not doing as well as you want in the class, or you're starting to think about majors or undergrad research or anything like that, you already start to know these people. So that was my first experience with office hours, and I can say that as a student, they were helpful to me both in undergraduate and in pursuit of my master's and PhD. Moving on from there, I want to say this, I'm in this job because I absolutely love serving students. I knew from the very first time I walked into a classroom as a teaching assistant that being with students and helping them pursue their goals, that was the best feeling in the world. That was what I wanted to do. And I was lucky enough that as I finished my PhD and started searching for jobs, I was lucky enough to find a job doing what I love. Now, in all of my teaching positions, prior to Antelope Valley College and at Antelope Valley College, I've always offered office hours. Why do we offer these office hours? It's something that we sometimes forget as we get more experience is that we know how college works. It's my job to work here and know how to work the system and know where the sources of help are. The students don't necessarily know this. And in fact, I've been here in the fall, it'll be the beginning of my 6th year at Antelope Valley College. At this point, I've been here longer than a lot of the students, so I'm starting to be, comfortable with all the resources. But when you go back to these students, that many of them are 18 years old, right out of high school, this is the first time that they've really been responsible for their own learning. Many of them are new to college. They cannot open doors when they don't know they exist. And yes, they need to take initiative and be responsible for their own learning. And one of the best ways they can do that is that when they realize there's a problem, they can go get some help. And I'm not really speaking about any particular kind of problem because it turns out that when the students are in class, if they see that professor every week, a couple times a week, and so when they start to have a problem with the course material, they know they need to go to the professor. We hope they know they need to go to the professor, but sooner or later, by a little bit into the semester, students start coming to office hours for many, many, many different reasons. And again, that's because as an instructor, I'm kind of the point of contact with the college, with some sort of official face on the college. So what do they come to office hours for? Obviously, they come to talk about their grades. They want to talk about the course material. In some cases, maybe they've had an unavoidable absence and they want to talk about getting back on track. This is the sort of thing, I can't do that in the 10 minutes after my one class and the 10 minutes between the end of one class and the beginning of another, especially if I'm changing buildings It's not just turning over in the same room. I can't do that in the 10 minutes passing period. If they have a problem with the course material, that they don't understand something that well, or they need to clarify something, that's what that's for. I have students that come there struggling to buy their textbooks. I have since switched from most of my classes to zero-cost texts, but they're sometimes struggling. Before that, they'd be struggling to get the text, and I'd say, well, look, if you come to my office hours, yes, I know it's in the library, but if you come to my office hours, I will let you borrow my personal copy of the book. You can go down the hall with it and read the book for an hour. I have students come to me because they maybe want to be geology majors. This has turned out to be very, very helpful. I believe that this spring at graduation, the very first geology AST did in fact cross the stage. At least in my experience, over the last 5 years, the AST is not very old. I have students that are already majors that are starting to think about their transfer plans, or they're trying to figure out what other classes they need to take at AVC. I have students come to talk to me about undergraduate research. Sometimes that's majors. Undergraduate research takes time. Right now, we don't have a specific class for it or a specific seminar for it or anything like that. So if a student is interested in working with me on some kind of project, we have to talk about that in office hours. Students come because they're doing honors projects or honors options. That's another reason they come to office hours. In many cases, they come with issues that I can't necessarily help them with. It's, serious personal or family issues. In a couple of cases, I've ended up having to, call the sheriff because a student has a, extremely serious concern about something. In a couple of cases, I've physically walked a student over to student services during my office hours because they are in crisis about something. I've encouraged students as to go to the academic counseling, and in a couple of cases I've gone with the geology majors to talk to the STEM counselor to find out what it's like when a student goes to talk to the counselor about what classes they should take, because I don't know about this and I'm trying to help them major. Sometimes students are doing everything they think they should be doing to be successful in the course, and it's still not working, so we talk about test-taking strategies. Many of them have never heard of the idea of the Office for Students with Disabilities, or they think that there's some kind of huge stigma on it. And so when I talk with them, I may be able to talk with them and say, I think we've done nearly everything we can do. Maybe we need to talk about you going to the Learning Center, talking to one of the specialists there, or maybe get in contact with OSD. I end up with students, non-students coming to me during office hours. My favorite are the people that come to me, they want to know if it's a meteorite. That's one of my favorites. In one case, they brought in a rock that was probably close to 100 pounds. When they dropped it on the floor of my office, the floor shook. And I'm in UKZ Hall. They want to know if it's actually quartz. They want to know if it is some sort of indigenous artifact. Sometimes I have students that actually bring their children to the office hours because the child has gotten very, very interested in rocks and minerals. And I said, well, why don't you bring your child by office hours and have them show me their rock collection? In many of the ways that I interact with students during office hours, I'm not an expert in all of these. Obviously, I am not a mental health crisis counselor. I am not the sheriff. However, I'm the point of contact. I'm the one that's able to lift these students up with services because they came to me. I'm accessible. I'm there. It's part of my job to have time for these students and try to help them reach their goals. I believe that the availability of these office hours is instrumental in students' success both in class and as far as their actual graduation from Antelope Valley College, or they're transferring, and success in life. All students should have access to their instructors outside of class, and again, not in that squeezed in 10 minutes between two classes. Regardless of whether their instructor is a full-time instructor at Antelope Valley College with an office right there, or an adjunct instructor, or maybe an instructor like myself that I used to teach at the old Palmdale Center, and I tried to schedule office hours there, and it was quite challenging to schedule office hours because of the old Palmdale Center. There wasn't really a place for it. It's very important that students have this access. They should not be at a disadvantage when they have an instructor that is not able to hold office hours, and I firmly believe that is a disadvantage. I believe that if you build it, they will come, and what I've done ever since I first started at AVC is I've kept a sign-in sheet for my office hours. I just brought the last couple of them. In fall of 2017, I had 94 students attend my office hours. Now that's not unduplicated, but 94 attendances. In intersession in 2018, only 4, because in intersession, I will say the students are usually pretty strong, and so they usually already kind of know the doors that they need to open. In spring 2018, I had 44. In fall 2018, I had 45. And this spring, in spring 2019, I had 60. And in spring 2019, I actually started marking out which ones were geology majors and honor students. And I had about over 10 visits from students doing honors options, and repeated visits from many of my majors, many of my geology majors. I say my because I'm the only full-time geology instructor here. I would read some names to you because my goal here is I really want to help give you an idea of what students are served by office hours. I would pass this around, but yes, student privacy, so I don't want to pass that around. But I believe that if we build it, they will come. Office hours is very, very important to student success. And I would like to invite all of you guys to visit my office hours anytime. Obviously, you can't necessarily, sit in for all students, but I would invite you to come onto the campus and see how we try to open doors for these students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Presentation. We have with us this evening the member measure AV Citizens Oversight Committee. It's an annual report by Kevin Von Hundlen, who's the vice chair of the Bond Oversight Committee.
Then asking for one to make sure of it. You used to see the same names over and over again. Once you've asked one, it's pretty good. But I'm confident that, as stated in the report, no bond proceeds were used unlawfully, and they all have been used for the points set forth in Measure AV. So far, you can see we've spent $65,035,936, and things seem to be progressing very nicely. I'm going to read through all the individual expenditures. I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions, anyone?
Shortest presentation
Oversight Committee?
I've ever given to you. You guys should come and join our oversight committee. That's exciting.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Next, we have a presentation, a brief presentation of the 2019-2020
I heard brief.
tentative
Okay.
budget.
Good evening. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try and breeze through some of these topics. I'll go over the new student-centered funding formula, where we think we're going to be for 18-19. Just as a point of reference, we don't really have a revenue funding model that is finalized yet. I'll get into that briefly so you all can see kind of the big swings in revenue that we're facing. Our status of stability, what I'm calling the evolution of the 18-19 total computational revenue, which is the revenue we get from the state. The 19-20 governor's May revision, and where we think we're going to land with the tentative budget. So at least you'll understand the assumptions we're putting in there. So for the student-centered funding formula, this was something that rapidly was approved last year and implemented in year one. For this second year, the governor, because of some of the technical challenges that we've had with this funding formula, is proposing to hold year one. So instead of moving to the 65% enrollment, 20 supplemental, 15 student success, keeping it at 70-20-10, the year one formula, until the Oversight Council that he's appointed has an opportunity to review it, run scenarios, and make some recommendations for potential improvement. If you take a look at what I've tried to do is kind of compartmentalize each section here just so you can see the trend in data. When we started with advanced, and that says July 19, but it really should say July 18, so that's a typo. We get that around July every year. We were using 17-18 FTES data because we didn't have any, enrollment for the 18-19 fiscal year. The only change I do want to point out is they were including in the February 1st apportionment some of the special FTES categories that they have separate funding for, so I've listed those out so you can see them. They've taken that out of the April P1 revision, and that is just a 3-year trend for AVC. The second item is the supplemental allocation. We started with 16-17 for estimated data, and then when we got to P1, we had 17-18 figures. So there were some interesting changes that happened across the system, shifting from 16-17 to 17-18, but nothing major between the first P1 and the April revision P1. On this third one, this is now the new student success allocation portion. Again, we started with 16-17 metrics data for estimates, and then when we got to P1, they changed it to the 17-18. And what I've tried to do is kind of put a difference for AVC, so you can see areas where we actually went up and did pretty well in, and other areas of improvement. For example, associate degree for transfer from one year to the next went up 32%, which is pretty good. And then if you look at, of those, how many were Pell recipients, that's a supplemental formula that we get in addition to that, that's 29%. And then also the other supplemental formula that we get are those students that are receiving the college promise, and that was 31%. So this is just something we're going to be tracking and we're looking at, and we have our institutional research department validating that these are actually the numbers. The second one is the statewide numbers. So I always like to compare Antelope Valley College with what's going on with the rest of the state. You can see it's very interesting that certificates went up about 20-21% for the system from one year to the next. So it looks like they're issuing more certificates than we had last year. For 18-19, I just want to point out, this is the overall Antelope Valley College budget. They have about $150 million in revenue. We're spending about $197 million. A lot of that is just the spend down of Measure AB. So you see the deficit spending number, it's because we're just expending those bond proceeds. We're not anticipating any sale for this fiscal year. I'm just going to spend a minute on this slide because it's very important for us. We have a couple of lines here. One is our actual FTES versus what we were funded. And so we, as the college, for the first time in about 8 years, were able to access growth dollars. And we made the shift of summer to capture those growth dollars. We weren't alone, 40 other districts did it as well. And so when we started to go through a couple years later, we started to have a structural deficit of our FTES of about 400. And so we made the decision to rebench our FTES through stability, which is a complete allowable practice, and it gives you 3 years to recover. So when we started the new student-centered funding formula at last year's adopted budget, we were told we were going to get roughly $75 million. It's a little bit more with all of the change in factors, about $1 million more for Antelope Valley College. Then we got to a point in February where the Chancellor's Office and the state said we don't have any caps on this funding formula for the student success metrics. And so we cannot fund it. There's some property tax shortfalls. There's also tax receipts that are coming in a little bit later, lower than expected, and a lot of that has to do with the federal change in tax law. And so they decided, okay, we're going to deficit the entire system 5.02%, which was about $4 million to Antelope Valley College. Then in April, from February to April, they said, you know what, we're not using 18-19 anymore. We're going to go back to your 17-18 base, and we're not going to give you any more than 8% above your 17-18 base. And so where we had a challenge with that was we were in stability. And so using 1718 for Antelope Valley College in about 40 districts creates something very problematic because we were protected and essentially they were lowering the base that they were starting in. And so that the president and I actually met with the Community College League of California and went through this scenario with them to say, you know, really if we're going to be held harmless and protected, you want to look at, you know, what our pre-stability base was and constrain that, or we'll even take what we came out of stability with, which was I think 11,014 FTES, and constrain that 8%. So I think that was hopefully effective. My colleagues over at College of the Canyons were also advocating for using 1819 as opposed to 1718. So more to come. It's been eerily quiet up in Sacramento, but for our planning purposes, we're going to be using the 1718 constrained 8%. That's the latest information that we have from the Chancellor's office. But I just want to point out all these swings in revenue. You know, 75 million to 64 million is an $11 million swing for our college. That being said, for estimated revenue, we're anticipating roughly 73.5 million, expending just about that, a little bit of deficit spending, and then ending with a 13.5% reserve. Our makeup of revenue is important. Most of our funding comes from the state of California, so we are subject to a lot of volatility and risk, which is why we have a board policy on our reserve levels being at 8% with a targeted goal of 12. It's because we have a lot of risk that we have to manage and mitigate. And it gives us an opportunity also to use it as a buffer in case they do a workload reduction. We can tap into the reserves and, you know, hopefully not affect the calendar or the schedule for the students. Expenditures are around 84 to 85%. What you'll see is 13% operating costs. A lot of that is utilities, security, and then we've got a small amount for other outgo and 5% for supplies. And usually that's for the classroom and non-instructional supplies. For 1920, the Governor's May revision had 3 major themes: effective government, affordability and opportunity, and justice and dignity. And a lot of this is to highlight there is still some risk in California's GDP, even though it's outpacing the nation. They're looking at it to slow holistically, and so the governor is wanting to build some resiliency in the budget. Also proposing a major pay down for CalSTRS, and that would lower at least 1% for our contribution to CalSTRS, which is significant. Also adding in $300 million for special ed programs, funding the second year for community college students that are full-time, first-time students, and then battling the homeless issue here in California and also some of the mental health that goes with that, so significant investment in that. For the May revision, you can kind of see there wasn't really that major of a change from what was in January versus what was in May. Except that suddenly they have enough money now with the tax receipts to hopefully fund 1819. What I also like to do in the expenditures is just kind of list out the cost of, you know, doing business from year to year. And so we've got, you know, our natural escalations for step and column, our security contract, minimum wages going up. So these are other costs associated with hiring student workers and hourlies. And then you can see the financial impact of STRS and PERS, and then we have some rental increases. For 1920, what I did with the revenue on that is I took the 1718 constrained 8% and then added COLA on top of that. So this is a conservative picture for our college. It's something that I think I'm most comfortable with given the swings. And then we are making up that deficit spending from one year to the next, and then we're ending about at the same reserve levels. And our tentative budget for the entire college next year is estimated to expend about $245 million. Again, $84 million of that is through Measure AV bond. Okay, so that's the major part of the deficit spending that you're seeing. And then also some capital outlay funding that we have that's just carried over from one year to the next. And just a little bit of a change in our revenue, about down 1%, mostly in local and state went down. And then same with our expenditures, they're hovering about the same as what we're anticipating for 18-19. And one slide I really like to point out is our growth of categorical programs and grants. This is money that the college receives that's restricted in nature and cannot be spent for any other purpose but what was agreed to within the grant parameters. So it's not money that can be used for salaries, benefits, anything like that. We started at about $6.8 million, and over a 10-year period, we've grown that to about $24.4 million. Are there any questions?
Complex.
When I started, I thought it was complex, and I should have just been happy with the way it was.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Report of closed session action. Motion was made by Laura Herman, seconded by Barbara Gaines. With a 5-0 vote, the board approved the extension of the president's employment contract beginning July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2023. Consent agenda, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Advice?
Yes.
Did I hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I'll speak up.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Action items.
Mr. President, I'd like to move to waive reading of the title of the action items because of the large number of action items that we have tonight.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, there is. All right. We'll start with 14.1. Oh, I'm sorry. Mike, you moved, right? Steve seconded. All in favor? Aye. Advice?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Okay, 14.1, purchase order schedule.
Move to approve 14.1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain? Advice?
Yes.
Thank you. 14.2.
Move approval of 14.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
Thank you. 14.3.
Move to approve 14.3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. 14.4.
Move approval of 14.4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.5.
Move to approve 14.5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.6.
Move approval of 14.6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.7.
Move to approve 14.7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.8.
Move approval of 14.8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.9.
Move to approve 14.9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.10.
Move approval of 14.10.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.11.
Move to approve 14.11.
All in favor? Advice?
Yes.
14.12.
Move approval of 14.12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
14.13.
Move to approve 14.13.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.14.
Move approval of 14.14.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.15.
Move to approve 14.15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.16.
Move approval of 14.16.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.17.
Move to approve 14.17.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.18.
Move approval of 14.18.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.19.
Move to approve 14.19.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
Move approval of 14.18.
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.21.
Move to approve 14.21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.22.
Move approval of 14.22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.23.
Move to approve 14.23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.24.
Move approval of 14.24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.25.
Move to approve 14.25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.26.
Move approval of 14.26.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.27.
Move to approve 14.27.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.28.
Move approval of 14.28.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.29.
Move to approve 14.29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.30.
Move move to approve 14.30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.31.
Move to approve 14.31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.32.
Move approval of 14.32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.33.
Move to approve 14.33.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
14.34.
Move approval of 14.34.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.35.
Move to approve 14.35.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.36.
Move approval of 14.36.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Aye.
14.37.
Move to approve 14.37.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
14, advice?
Yes.
14.38.
Move approval of 14.38.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.39.
Move to approve 14.39.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.40.
Move approval of 14.40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.41.
Move to approve 14.41.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.42.
Move approval of 14.42.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.43.
Move to approve 14.43.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.44.
Move approval of 14.44.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.45.
Move to approve 14.45.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
14.46.
Move approval of 14.46.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes.
And here it is, 14.47.
Move to approve 14.47.
All in favor?
Aye.
Advice?
Yes, sir.
None. Okay, informational items. You can see those listed right here. Reports and announcements. Nobody here from Academic Senate. Antelope Valley College Federation of Teachers, Dr. Lee.
No report.
Antelope Valley College Federation of Classified Employees, Pam.
I just need to make a comment about an action that was made this evening by one of the board members, Steve Buffalo, when he was addressing the, he stated that, I'm kind of rattled because I found it offensive, but I need to address this. I'm concerned and deeply affected due to the insinuations and gestures made in my and Scott's direction, and I'm not sure whether it was our role as union officers or what. Specifically, I'm addressing his statement that people are saying things, his statement and his gesture, that people are saying things not true. The facts, as pointed out by David Adams tonight, is that there's a process that must be followed with the recommendations being made to the faculty and classified and the district president. That's happened. And then, according to the faculty contract, it has to be negotiated. I'm speaking in terms of intercession. Once that's done, then there's an MOU that's drafted, and if all agree, then we sign off on it. As far as I know, we haven't gotten to that point yet because there have been no negotiations, I don't think, Mr. Lee, on the part of faculty. No. Okay. As I shared previously, classified work year-round. Therefore, the impact on us isn't going to be as heavy as it would on the faculty. But what I respect, whether I disagree with any one of you or anybody in leadership, including anybody sitting at this table, and Scott and I have agreed heartily on many occasions, is I respect the process and I respect other people's positions. And I would like to see that same respect come towards us. We are not going to our constituents groups and giving them information that is untrue. We're giving our constituent groups information that comes to us. And some of it we see firsthand, as we did at the calendar committee meeting. So it's not secondhand. And I respect the democratic process of having a voice. And I respect all policies and procedures. And I respect most of all them being followed. To not follow those processes, if I may clarify, is a clear example of things being said that aren't true. And to accuse us of that is definitely an example of that. Thank you.
Confidential management supervisor, Garrett.
No update.
Okay. Associated Student Organization, Jack.
Hi, so ASO is getting ready to move our office to the swing space. We're also getting ready for the fall semester. It should be good here.
Okay, very good. Antelope Valley College Foundation, Diane Knudson.
No reports.
Office of Superintendent President, Mr. Knudson.
Summer classes started today, both here in the main campus. Enrollment levels are virtually the same as last year within 50 students. Fall enrollment is tracking at the same pace as last year was at the same time. So we looked at enrollment's going to be fairly static for the next year. We had a really good groundbreaking ceremony for Sage Hall on Tuesday the 4th. And I'd like to put into the record that our Public Information Officer, Liz Batchin, has moved on. She should be snapped in the Bay Area with her family as a family relocation. But I want to thank her very much for her 5 years of service to the college and the work that she has done.
Okay. Board member comments. Start with you, young man. You have anything you'd like to say? Besides, yes?
No.
Very good.
I just want to say that it's always a treat to be at the Palmdale campus. Kathy, you and your team are doing an amazing job here. It's such a beautiful facility, and it's exciting, the number of students that we are serving here, which was our goal all along. So it's great work.
Okay. Mike?
My compliments, Kathy, as well. I always am impressed by the cleanliness of the facility and how good it looks.
Steve?
Yes. And I want to find out a little more about what you're talking about, the cubes and stuff. And I wasn't quite, I was following some of it, but not everything. Just to clarify, what I was referencing was spending millions of dollars on attorneys to negotiate, not calendars or anything else, and graduation being daytime, which we've had it in the past as daytime. I would hope people wouldn't be upset by clarifying that we're not spending millions of dollars on attorneys to negotiate with the unions. That's not happening. And we've had, graduations over 20 years all the time. But I'm glad to hear from you. I do appreciate it. I sometimes think we're caught in a dilemma. If we say something, then people think, well, maybe you shouldn't say something. And if we don't say something, you think we're not engaged and we're not listening to you. We are listening to you, and we are engaged. And when the comment comes about that, hey, we vote 5-0, well, a few years ago, we had a lot of 3-2 votes and some 4-1 votes, and I was on a couple of those, losing into that. So that's not unusual, but if you look at our agenda is a lot of standard stuff. We haven't voted on class schedules or any really controversial stuff lately that I recall. It's pretty standard routine contracts that we go ongoing month after month. It benefits the classes and the faculty, and of course a lot of the stuff that we're doing engaging in the contracts that we're issuing for the construction projects. So that's one of the reasons we voted 5-0, because there's nothing, you would want to see us vote 5-0 because you want these things. They benefit you, they benefit the students, and there's nothing controversial about them. Now, 5 months from now, 6 months from now, there may be a controversial thing, and the board may be split on it. But the board actually discusses and takes this stuff very, very seriously. We don't simply just phone it in, okay? So I appreciate your comments, but I want you to understand that we are concerned, and we do take your points, but I do want to make clarifications to the millions of dollars, because that's been repeatedly said here, and it is just simply not the case. So thank you.
What? Okay. I would just like to say to Mrs. Adams, my favorite term this evening was gerrymandered districts. Really, really interesting. I've never worked in this district, as a candidate. I get that coming out if I decide to run again, I guess. But gerrymandered district. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here. We are adjourned.
For the college, what's going to happen?
Well,
Such marvelous things have happened so far.
we have a lot of work to do as far as construction goes. It's probably going to be the primary focus over the next 4 years. We're going to be building $300 million worth of new facilities on the main campus.
Classrooms or gyms or
all classrooms.
All classrooms.
And dedicated learning space. There is a renovation to the gym, but it's a minor project compared to the rest of them. We'll be managing our funds and those kinds of things. We set aside 10% of the total bond, which is $35 million. We set that aside to create an endowment of sorts.
Sure.
And the proceeds off of that will take care of all these new facilities so that we won't be dependent upon Sacramento for renovation and maintenance money.
Right.
We'll have it ourselves. Now, we're not going to turn down any money from Sacramento.
No,
but we won't be beholden to them.
Sure.
The college is debt-free.
Yeah.
And
congratulations.
Thanks. And we intend to stay that way. And we're looking to try to increase the opportunity for students to complete their programs of study on a more rapid basis so they can be more efficient with their time. And with the economy right now, that requires greater flexibility. So we're looking at how we can do all of those things. And
Sure.
and serve the community.
And continuing the credits that high school students can earn at the college too, I presume.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's been very well received in Rosemont, and
yeah, and well, of course, we have Soar High School right on campus, and over half of their class graduates every year with us with an associate's degree.
Sure.
And I would love to be able to provide that opportunity to around our entire service area. That's part of why we extended this and have this beautiful facility in Palmdale, is to get to the eastern side of our service area and provide services as well.
Sure.
And we have a express bus now that runs from this center in Palmdale to main campus. It's a 30-minute bus ride. It just goes. It only goes between the two places.
I see.
It's open to the public, so it's. But our students from out on the east side, it's easier for them to go back and forth.
Sure. What is the timetable? Is it hourly or half hourly?
There's 8 round trips a day.
8, I see.
Up until and into the evening.
Well, as I say, congratulations again. You've got a job through 23, and you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.